So we're going to discuss a little Dragon Booster. This is going to be a kind of brief rules overview. We played around a bit with it. I have a little better grasp on kind of how things work and kind of going to give you a bunch of pointers that you might not notice the first time around. So comes in the starter deck, and I have boosters somewhere. You can see our opening of all those, but the reason I'm pointing out the starter because it has the stuff you kind of need. So to start with, let's take this thing out. Obviously, this rule book's from a different starter. So, in this box is a bunch of stuff. These are 20 card packs that contain 1 rare, 13 commons, and what is that? Is it 13 commons? Something like that. And like 6 uncommons per. So you're getting 3 rares guaranteed. You're getting, 18 uncommons and the X number of commons. Yes, I know my math is amazing right now. This is your 1 of 3. There is a blue, a red, and a green pack. It contains 1 dragon and then 4 pieces of either gear or crew. The mix is preset based on which one you get. The cards that we found out are also annoyingly exclusive to the starters. So if you're trying to collect for this game, you actually need starters to get these cards. Kind of annoying. Interestingly, there is a demo game. We covered that in one of the previous ones. This is a paper fold-out mat. The nice part is it has, if you realize it, it has 2 proxies for 2 of the other dragons. It has the gold dragon and then Deception. So if you need to makeshift 2 dragons, they're in here. The rule book and the playmat. The playmat is what I needed to kind of show you how everything's going. Every player has one. This is a game that is multiplayerable. The rules don't change that much. So we're going to unfold this. It has our checklist here on the back. We'll take a brief little, checklist. The promos over here, annoyingly, most of these are from the demo deck. Now, I have no idea what these the Total Recall, Sinister Glare, these P1 to P5s, they might have been for tournament. I have no information whatsoever on those cards existing, but so I'm putting that out there. Also trying to get a full set. Yeah, good luck on that one. Over here, and no, I'm not cutting off with the camera. As you can see, literally, they just kind of give you a placeholder right there. This is your setup. Now, I have some handy-dandy cards here. Your dragon deck, so-called, because it's where your dragon comes from. Let's find... I have a dragon in here. There we go. Here is a dragon. You have 10 cards, and its damage pile over here is its discard. First turn you go through, you find your dragon. I've not seen anything that removes a dragon, so you only need 1 dragon. You have a total of 10 cards. You are not allowed more than 2 of any given card. On every turn, the first part is the mag phase, and I will give credit where it's due. On the back of the rule book, you don't have to flip through any pages. It says all this stuff. You draw 2 cards, and then you go get a gear or recruit a crew. So you go through here. Second discussion, I want to find this thing. Now, in constructed play, the colors down here have to match up. If you only have a starter or you're playing the many versions of Limited, whether it's draft or sealed deck, the colors do not matter. Let's find one that does match. Here we go. This one's blue. So there's a light blue and there's a dark blue. Annoying part, light blue doesn't exist, orange doesn't exist, white doesn't exist, yellow doesn't exist. There was supposed to be a second set, and there isn't. So you find this little white line here, and you're going to line it up with the dragon. These little things called zap caps. We're just going to call it the hole. Doesn't matter. And it gives a bonus. We found out that different dragons for different colors will have these in different spots. So the fact that this has 5 different symbols, that actually does come into play. Like one of them might actually use the corner, another one might use the second one. This one here is going to use the second from the corner. And as you can see, the second from the corner is the same stat. So it has sort of a lineups here, because obviously there's only 4 zap caps. And we go through and we put this guy over here. Now, it is kind of annoying, especially when you put it in sleeves. It gets a little foggy. Now that there adds +1 to the appropriate skill, which is right there. So this is now a 3. Okay, I set this off to the side. I will show you my hand. Let me get a bunch of commons, because we also learned, as I bump the camera, commons generally range in value of 1 to 3. So the fact that you're getting all those commons in these 20 card packs, many of you are like, oh man, I don't want all these commons. You actually need them. Because the rares do not have any ones. I don't think they have a card lower than 3, and most of them are between 4 and 7. So I'm going to get one of these and one of these for sake of discussion. Now, after we do that, we move to the main phase, verifying. Yes, we move to main. We can play maneuvers, we can play an event, and then use things that say main : Now, every round you get X energy. It does not carry over. Round 1, you get 1 energy. Round 2, you get 2 energy. I've not seen anything to drain an opponent's energy. I've seen cards that cancel their ability to use certain cards, but not anything else. So, in the first round, I can play this maneuver, and I'm going to play it here to the track. Think of that as kind of like my holding zone. Now, here is the sprint value. We're going to come to that, but this is how you score points. I can also play maneuvers. There are 3 kinds of stats. I think it's like speed, power, might. I forget this every time, because why would you have symbols that make any common sense? I don't know. Here, speed, agility, and power. So speed, agility, power. And this card here is in the demo game on the paper, because I didn't collect one. But annoyingly, we also discovered, see, his zap caps aren't in even spaces. This is second. This one is, I think, also second. That's a number 1 spot. That's like a number 3 spot. So, and this is the only one that does it. So the Gold Dragon is like this absolute wild card powerhouse. It does all sorts of unique things. So, why would you want one? But, so this value, I'm here. I cannot play it because I do not have the value that meets. But, if the card color, and no, this isn't the card color, this is the card color. If this color matches here, I am +2 for playing events that match. That only matters for playing events. It doesn't matter for any other thing that checks stats. So I technically can play this during my main. And it says return maneuver in the track that has a cost of 1 to its owner's hand. Obviously, I would aim at my opponents. I might return to mine if I have a come into play effect. Okay, we take communal turns. So we've all gotten our dragon, okay, then we got our gear, we played our maneuver. We then go into the battle phase. We call it the battle phase, we call it the rush phase. They interchange these things because then you also get the battle ability. It's annoying. They need to pick one word and go with it. But we can also use things that are, say, the word main. Let me find my handy dandy. See if we can find one that says main. That says battle. That says battle. Battle. You're just going to be that way, aren't we? Battle. Battle. Constant. Battle. You're just wonderful. Main. Here we go. Here we go. We actually found a card that it'll happen, guys. It'll happen. In order to activate this, and as filthy as that looks, it came out of the pack that way. I'm just kind of putting that out there. You have to discard a card to activate this. So effectively, this piece of gear allows you to cycle a card. That's actually really, this is actually really good piece of gear. So I could use that to discard 1 card to draw 1. Any main or battle ability can only be used once per turn. There are a few cards that will let you do that again. Very few cards, but it's worth noting. So then we go into starting with the leader. Now the leader designates. So if I start the person to my left, obviously in 2-player game, we're just going back and forth. But in multiplayer game, it goes to the left of the leader of the previous, turn. I say, how many of my maneuvers do I want to put in the zone? Sake of discussion, let's fill out some stuff. Let's pretend I have a maneuver and a maneuver. Don't ask me why I did it. I did. Let's get that one out of the shine. I can slide 1 or more here into the zone. Now, why that matters. When it comes to the rush, the battle portion, You choose one. The leader chooses first, and then the opponents can choose to do, to either intercept or not. If you have even one card in the zone, you must be part of the battle. That means you're in. Once we move into battle from rush, there will not be another chance this turn to move cards from track into here. That is kind of it. There is some tactical value to this. Now, what's going to happen? This value is called my rushing value. There are cards that alter that. There's some pluses, some minuses, a couple of these tricky little abilities. A lot of stuff's fun. So I have a value of 4. If they block, let's just say with a value of 6, the winner is going to get the difference. So obviously if they block with 6, they're going to get 2. I wouldn't. But if we go here, and when it comes to multiplayer, only the ones that are closest together. So if, let's say, all 3 of these are put in, only these 2 are technically going to battle. This one just falls off. The losing cards, if this was 3 of them, would be discarded. The winner returns to the track, because then we go again. Then you go, okay, I'm going to put forward another one, and we keep going until the zone is emptied. The goal over here is to get to 30 points. You can also win if you deplete your opponent's deck. That's more or less the gist of the game. And I have a hair. I apologize. But that's more or less the gist of the game. There's a lot of stuff going on. We'll show you some more cards because things get kind of crazy. These right here are commons. So these are playable in almost every one of them. The positives are obviously, this is a red card, despite that color, this is a red card. That then red has a chance to play that more. I can boost my stat to get up there. The maneuvers, you're going to be able to play these, possibly even multiple. You are not limited to one maneuver being played a turn. You are limited by the energy. So on turn 6, I can play all of those. There are cards that even, this one here says discard 3 cards. So there's a card economy. There are some things that let you pay energy, and there aren't many. This card, it has a constant effect. That seems really odd. Well, there are cards. Let's see if we can find them. Bring it a little further back to see if I can find one with a triggering ability. We're not going to find it. This is the same thing all over again. This is just really, really making things difficult, aren't we? You're just not going to do it. Here we go. If this is sitting in my track, from what I've gleaned, this battle ability is able to be played. Even if this card is not the zone, this is just another card that can be triggered. So I can hold as many cards in my track as I want, gaining a ton of access to abilities. Now, most of these are when played. Constant means it's always active. Battle means obviously during the battle phase you can activate it. You cannot activate main cards during battle and vice versa. You can play events during both, and some of them trigger a little differently. Let me see if I'm missing anything else by our quick little handy-dandy review. Battle ends while players pass one after the other. Each player chooses 0 or more maneuvers on the track and moves them onto the zone, starting with the leader. After all players do this, battle begins. Play events, use a battle effect. You must discard. Now, I'm going to double check. This is both a decent rulebook, but also an annoyingly complicated set of ways of things going. So, the rush, the one you're going to keep coming back to and over again. There's some vagaries in here that get kind of confusing. So over here where it says you must battle if you have at least one card in the zone. You cannot start a battle if you do not have a maneuver. When a player battles without a rushing card, their sprint value is 0. And it can't be raised or lowered. That's important because you can't have a 0 and then add a +2 to it. So the rush ends when no player is in a battle and no cards are in the zone. Well, that really seems to imply that battles just keep restarting. A player wins a battle, so here we are. During the battle phase, both players alternate taking actions. Begin with the player who started the battle. You can do any of the following. So we do all that. When all players pass immediately one after the other, the battle resolves. You compare the 2 points. And then it seems here we just go right back into battle. So that's what I'm reading, because So see, it says you choose one card in the zone to be his rushing card, and that almost should be bolded because that is a key phrase that comes up. Sorry, the camera's jumping. I'm going to set this a little further back. So we just do battle after battle after battle after throwing the manual. And then after all cards in the zone are handled, whether discarded or slid back into your track, then we end the rush, and then we end the turn. And then you do a quick little check to see if anyone has won or lost. From there, we would start a new turn. I would draw, say this is my hand, I would draw 2 new cards right off the top. And then we go into magging a gear or a crew. Let's get a crew. I'm going to bring out my handy dandy stack of extra. So yes. So here's a prime example of what I need to go through for crew. There we go. Okay. So I mentioned in limited, or if you only have a starter, if that's your only thing. This is, if you want to call it a team icon. Your team icon of your dragon is right here. Now, once again, pointing out fun information. So, these 2 guys are on the same team, right? Wrong! The red, blue, and green cards that come in the starters are supposed to have Team Pen Racing. That's the main good guy team. It is this Starburst icon, and they come with those in their deck. Annoying little errata. They're the only cards that got errata, but, that's all fun. I'm putting that information out there. These are the things that are going to drive you nuts. So I get one of these crew, and again, if we're in, limit or whatever, they just kind of hang out over here. You can have an unlimited number of crew, but obviously with only 10 cards in your deck, you're only going to go so far. This one has a constant ability. This one has a battle ability, meaning I have to discard a card to do all this stuff. They're fun. The annoying part is, if you're not playing limited, I think this is the Dragon Army. No, it's not the Dragon Army. It's whatever, it's the bad guys. There were only 2 black dragons. Now, do I have an open deck? Yes, I do. It's right here. I did this in the previous one. I put it back in. So, what I said about proxies, and I want to emphasize this because getting product has been a pain in the tail, and it seems like people are speculating. Right here, Black Dragon. Right here, Gold Dragon. When you get this mat, I am telling you now, cut this thing out and throw it in a sleeve. It is sleeve size. You now have 3 dragons in your collection. You have arguably 2 of the most powerful ones. Now, obviously, if you want to use a hole punch, you can get a hole punch. In the rules, and I'm going to bring up our handy-dandy book, because, believe it or not, I think they actually, for a game that didn't do very well, they did a very good job of actually setting it up for most human players. Right here in the back, here we are. Sealed draft, as well as other ways to play, multiplayer, booster drafting. Sealed drafting is just getting a starter deck and then drafting the thing off. They tell you here, if you do not have a dragon or choose not to use one, each of your stats starts at 3. At the start of the match, choose a color for your dragon to be, putting gear in your mag pit that shows that they are magging gear, etc., etc., etc. And you use the stat in the corner of the gear. So you basically, if you want to make a proxy, you can. It has no other ability other than it uses the corner of all the mag gear, and it has no affiliation because, again, it's limited, so it doesn't matter. You see right here for drafts, you ignore the team symbol and color boxes on magging gear and recruiting. That's in this. Most other ones, you have to go on the website and find stuff. So I like that that's covered in that. For a dead CCG, the website did very little. In fact, the game really wasn't alive long enough for it to really matter. There is stuff that damages gear. Damaged gear just goes over into its own special discard over here. Cards, when discarded, go over here into the discard pile. There are a fair number of cards that actually can recycle. They're usually in the green faction. I think it's called the Fist of the Dragon or something like that. They tell you all the stupid names in this thing. And I keep hitting this stupid rig. I am sorry. I'm on a tripod. I'm just hitting this thing left and right. Where are we? They tell you it, I was going to say fairly early, but it's fairly early in the rules. Watch, I already passed it, didn't I? I already passed it. I thought it was like here in like the first 2 pages. There it is, right down there. See? Grip of the Dragon. I was close. Good enough. It's a game that I really like for a few reasons. One, you cannot be knocked out. Now, when we were playing our game, I literally lost like 32-0 because we just grabbed a fistful of cards. Well, I had a bunch of rares and I couldn't play them because, let me bring up, where is my stack of rares? So here's like a stack of rares and foils. 7. Basically, only a black dragon is going to be able to play this card, and only if they get themselves jacked up to 5 and then use the +2 bonus. Here are some foils. And, the rare thing is down here, the yellowish gold. 6, the maneuvers costing a lot isn't bad because we definitely hit turn 7, turn 8 easily, and then they get up there in value. So you need like a decent balance. And again, here's like another 7. And here is the Draconium language. Now, they have a translation guide in the back of this book. It doesn't matter. It's annoying because you'll get some random cards. I have like 2 or 3 cards I need for my collection. I only have Dragonium versions, so that's really annoying. See, there's a battle ability, and I already have 2 dupes right there. The foiling on these is whatever. They're like 1 in every 3 packs you get a foil. Draconium's like 1 in 24 packs. I have like 6 of this card. But as you can see, there's a lot of events that seem to really favor your dragon being one color or another, whereas the uncommons and commons are able to be gotten closer. Like you can't get there even. I mean, your dragon would have to be a 2 or 3, and then have pluses and all that just to get just play this card unless you were red. So there is a color pie thing going on. See, search your race deck. This card's really just awesome because it's a search. It's only, searching is very rare in this game, as is straight card draw. But as you can see with those costs, many rares are more for constructed than anything else. It's why you're only getting 3 in a starter and 1 in a booster. And when you're doing drafting, I would not be surprised if you take almost none of the rares. I mean, now mind you, your dragon, you can pick a color, so maybe you'll take one that's in your color. But that's really, really, really hard to do. Now, depending if it's sealed deck or limited, obviously constructed, you make your own. In sealed deck, you open the pack, you keep the dragon, and then you draft off these are called crystals because they're clear. You draft these off first. In pack draft, do you keep them? I know, I think you just keep all of yours. Yes. So in a pack draft, when you open up 4 boosters, you just take your crystals and keep them. In the sealed deck, starter deck draft, you actually draft off the gear because the gear is fixed. So, back and forth, whatever. There are different ways to play. Obviously, there's no organized play. You can do whatever you want. I like the challenges in this. The fact that they even had the rules. I don't actually have to house rule stuff. All the rules I need for multiplayer are in there. The rules for 2 kinds of draft are in there. That's really cool. And it makes it so that you have the ability to just play this game. Now, mind you, just do draft. I'm doing it as a cube, and we'll do a video on that later. But when you're doing limited, the format, these symbols don't matter as much. Now, obviously, go to constructed, you can play around. But I mean, I opened 8 booster boxes. I want to say it was 8. 8 booster boxes of 12 packs each. Only 1 crystal per pack. And then like another 60 boosters on top of that. So like another 5. So probably about, 14 or 15 booster boxes worth. Like that's well over 100 packs. I don't have all the dragons. It was very hard to get dragons. I got lucky. So look at our box opening videos and you can kind of see how I got lucky. The game, if it's something you have to be aware of to see whether or not you can deal with that. Because the starter decks, I cannot recommend them high enough to get at least 2, maybe in a whole box. A whole box, I think, is 6. Now, I have 4 of these. I already duped the blue one twice. I have a sealed one I haven't opened yet. I'm going to do that on camera. I got 1 green and 2 blues. I bought all the red ones off someone off the internet, which was pretty cool. The card distribution is not the worst I've ever seen. That's more like Shadowrun and some of these other games where you can just get into a loop and you can't get the cards you need. At least in the starters, you're guaranteed a dragon, and it has rules where you can use a generic dragon if you want. The game itself is not that hard once you understand, the gobbledygook of rush is battle after battle after battle, and then we go over here. There is only one main. Because if someone passes, we just keep going until everyone passes. And again, you can only use one main ability. Battle, where does it say? Use a battle effect to discard a card from your hand. I swear it says you can only do battle. Battle and main only once per turn, not once per pass. I want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. Maybe not. Let's see if it says it back here in our glossary. See, battle and battle all over again. Let's go page 4 and page 6. I just want to make sure that. So here is all this stuff. And page 6. Are we going to explain keywords? Nope, we're just going to make it hard. Anyway. Obviously, you're going to get a rule book, and we're going to do a little more play and give our thoughts. There are so many. I mean, how many ads are in a rule book? That's just insane. The animated show has a really weird art style. And they made toys. Those apparently are worth some money because no one freaking bought the thing. But here we go. Each of these effects are limited to 1 use a turn. See, there we go. Could have said it multiple times. Constants effect the whole time. Main, you can only use once per turn. Battle, once per turn. And I know that seems silly for me to spend all that time, but this being one of the only videos out there on Dragon Booster that I want to be thorough, the game has a lot going for it. It's not a combat game. Now, you can attack and take out your opponent's stuff, and with as many commons as you get, you're never out of the game. If you were to play this in Constructed, and I mean like you had 1 billion cards, you have all the cards you need, yeah, I can see knocking someone so far back they can't do anything. But in the terms of you get a starter, you get a bunch of boosters, and you just play this game, you might have a good time. That's my opinion. I think you'd have a good time. The playmat has very clear zones. I don't exactly like the little part here, but to be fair, you don't actually need the whole card cutout sitting there. The idea that you can play earlier cards and they can just sit there and give you extra abilities. If you've played enough Magic the Gathering or many other battle games where you end up with this giant battlefield, you have all these cards and you have 1 million abilities, this still has that. It has come into play abilities. It has abilities, cards with abilities on them. There are other cards, like there's a rare that it says if your dragon's black, do these things, but it's a 6 cost and a 12 maneuver. That number down there is your, sprint. These cards are called maneuvers. That's your sprint number. But at the even in a limited game where your dragon isn't black, you either you didn't declare it or you're playing a dragon and it's not black, you still have a cost 6, maneuver 12. Sprint 12. Those words are just going to keep coming out. The game is very playable. Accessibility is going to be wax wane. I bought out the one wholesaler because the price was right for the booster boxes for me. The starter decks I'm seeing run for 10 to 15, and you can get a deal for the whole display box. I'm in no mood to pick up a box of starters because I have all the cards. I have all the cards from the starter exclusives that I needed. There are, from what I've seen in these, there are no foils in these, which is good. No Draconium, which is good, which means all the cards you get in the starter are in English. You can play it. You get the mat. That's good to go. 1 starter per player. You have a collection. You're ready to rock. And like I said, from that little, sheet, you can get 2 more proxy dragons. So if you were to buy 2 starters, theoretically, you'd have between 3 and 4 dragons, because you might get a repeat. There's nothing I can say about that. But these 20 count packs they are all different. They are not fixed. They are random, but they do have the same rarity distribution. Booster packs are a total mess. I've only gotten 1 or 2 where the crystal is missing. I think that's probably the worst offender. Was obviously you open a pack and the crystal was missing. The gear, there was a whole color pie thing going on. And, I said that before, like, even with the factions, the colors sort of have a thing, like purple can do discard. Sorry, can discard from cards from top of deck. Black does discard from hand. I think blue can drop values. Red can, like, increase values. Green does a lot more damage. But, like, the red gear kind of has a theme to it. Obviously he's a crew. The red gear has a theme. This is the light green gear. And there is a difference between blue and light blue. There is brown, right here, main. Discard the top 2 cards of your race deck in case you had stuff that recycled. Let me guess so you can see it. Constant, your rival's rushing card in the first battle you start each turn is randomly chosen from cards in the zone. It's pretty painful. So there is a color pie distribution, to use our Magic the Gathering terms, but considering I played for, almost 20 years, it's built in. But the game doesn't feel like Magic the Gathering. It doesn't feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! It feels like its own game. It's a racing style game. It's a game where you are trying to get points. You are not trying to knock each other out. You're always in it. There's a decent curve to it. There is strategy. There is tactics. Strategy is long-term. Tactics is the here and now. And, you being able to pick out, because you don't draw, you pick from your dragon deck which ones you get, and you draw 2 cards from your race deck. There is a lot of chaos going on, but there is, how many cards do you want to slide into the zone? Do you want to put them all in? Do you just want to put 1 in and wait your opponent out so like they play 4 and, you do some math back and forth. There are a few surprises because of the event cards. It's a recommend for me. It's a middle of the road recommend because getting cards feels a little hard. The rules are actually pretty decent, but as you saw, I can't just, find the information I needed right away. I like that the rule book has multiple ways to play. I like that on the back of the rule book, it has the reminder sheet. For the most part, that's decent. Like I said, middle of the road. There are other games that I love way, way, way more. I might be keeping this for a while just strictly because of how hard it was for me to acquire it, and my collection is probably at least 80% done, if not more. But that's that. So for Cardboard Resurrection, here is our Dragon Booster. It's our initial impressions. It's our how to play video. There isn't much history. Came out in 2005 with the animated series. The animated series had 3 seasons. There was supposed to be a second set to this game. There is not. It did not do great. The animation style of the show, these are screen caps, so they're not blurry. That's kind of how the show looks. So that's that. The cards are, at the very least, are commonly marked now on foils. It's a little annoying, but you figure that stuff out. But that's our feelings. I'm going to be putting up more Dragon Booster content as it goes on. You can see I open up tons of booster boxes. You can see that. Look for our starter opening. It's not as exciting as the boosters because they're semi-fixed cards, and you're mostly looking for the awesome crystal cards. The rares come and go because if it's in colors you don't like, also look for our cube video or our cube discussion on the blog. But until next time, Cardboard Resurrection, dredging through the past and playing some games that I have fun Googling Dragon Booster. Even when you put in quotations, have fun Googling that. So we will talk to you later.